A leader in the industry, Chapman is one of the youngest individuals to be inducted into the Marketing Hall of Legends. His opinions on consumerism, brand building, social media, and business strategy make him a sought-after guest and frequent contributor to national television, radio, newspapers, magazines, and an in-demand speaker to audiences like us. Please join me in welcoming Tony Chapman.
Remind me when we get back to shorten that introduction, but you know, speaking of introductions, because I was laughing that, you know, you get to speak around the world and you kind of have to get used to people talking about you that way and realizing that there's people that know you as an individual. And last year, I had an introduction that made me so nervous. My daughter was graduating high school. And the principal said, wouldn't it be great if you could come out and speak to the high school, grade 9 to grade 12. And I just thought, man, I couldn't wait, you know. I had to get in front of my daughter and her friends. And I had no idea how painful that was to my daughter. And for 2 or 3 weeks, she's going, Dad, why are you doing this? She's trying to give me the flu bug, anything to get me around. So I show up at 3 o'clock. And these kids all arrive, and I expect them to be just skipping in and so excited to see me. And I realize that these hormonally deprived teenagers and their Facebook and cell phone, I'm the one separating them from that at the end of the day. So she gets up on stage like Kelly just did, and thank God for Kelly, because she is my boss. She keeps me very well employed. But my daughter gets up and has that sheet of paper and blah, 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 and Hall of Fame, all this stuff, and she looks at it. And she looks at me again with the look that only a daughter can give you. She crumples the paper, puts it down, and she goes, I have no idea why we're here, other than my dad talks a lot. What can I tell you about him? 3 things. He's a bit of a dork. He's a pretty good chauffeur unless it's too late at night. And more often than not, he's my ATM machine. Ladies and gentlemen, my dad. So I am so excited about being here because I used to practice your craft, and I loved every minute of it. There was nothing more exciting to me than to work with a city like Halifax is, or a province, locations, and the venues and the unique cultures, the hotel, all of this becoming this wonderful stage, and then to bring together the creativity, you know, the slideshows and the video, the live entertainment, the theme parties. And I called the meeting planners that worked with me the conductors of the orchestra. And I was always amazed at how you'd bring 15 or 20 tracks together to this event on a deadline, more often than not on time, on budget. And no matter what happened, no matter all the things that changed, that one guest that just was irate because they got 2 beds instead of a king-size bed, you'd stay calm and you'd find a way to make it happen. You constantly would adjust your tactics on the fly. But the thing I loved the most about this business was the canvases on the wall at the end of it, seeing and feeling the standing ovations as cultures came together. Their shining eyes as they experienced something they had never experienced before, and how you are in the business of transforming cultures. And I salute and applaud you for doing that. So today I want to just do 3 things. I want to talk about 30 or 35 minutes, and then I hope we have a great conversation. I want to talk about 3 things. First thing I want to talk about is the perfect storm. What's happening in the marketplace? The convergence of forces that are changing business forever. Then I want to talk to you about what I think is the perfect opportunity, because anytime there's chaos and change, what emerges is extraordinary opportunity. And finally, I'd want to end with saying, what would I do if I was back in that business in your shoes? So let's start talking a little bit about the perfect storm. You know, there's one word that unites all of us in this room. In fact, this word is the oxygen of capitalism. In fact, it's the oxygen of communication. It's a word that unites whether you're a police officer or a teacher or a parent or a meeting planner or you're selling a venue. And that word is attention. You need to get the attention of your audience if you ever have any hope in engaging them and persuading them to buy, persuading them to change their behavior. Now, for most of the last century, and even for the beginning of this century, getting attention really came down to 5 words. All the strategies, the MBA, the programming and business books, it really came down to 5 words. Those who shout loudest win. And if I could outshout my competition, I would invariably get the market share that my investment cost me. If I was in the business of selling consumer brands, I would shout with television, "Tony the Tiger tastes great. Tony the Tiger tastes great." And I would pound that message into your head to the point that you believed that processed corn and processed sugar was the start of a perfect breakfast for your kids. And if I was really good at shouting loud, I'd make sure that when you went into the grocery store, Frosted Flakes would be standing right in front of you and fall in your grocery cart. And that's how I built my consumer brands. If I was in the business-to-business world, I would shout loud with the number of my sales force, the size of my trade show booth, the trade advertising I could take up. If I was in the non-for-profit or the foundation business, I'd shout loud by the size of my endowment office, the amount of fundraisers on the street knocking on the doors. It was such a simple strategy that capitalism went on steroids. And overnight, it seemed like, we went to the world where now we're vying for the attention of the consumer, and in front of them, there's over 3 million brands. 30,000 will be launched this year alone. And so many of them are meaningless Me Too. There's 40 kinds of Oreo cookies in the market. There's 11 kinds of ancient grain cereal. And it's become such a sea of commoditization. Just walk into the stores and you realize that what's happening is that our customers are having to fight on price. And every time you fight in price, your margin goes down and you have less dollars to invest in things like advertising and meetings and people. But we didn't just shout loud with brands. We started shouting loud with media. 1985, there's 15 television stations. People would race home to watch their show, Ed Sullivan or All in the Family or Seinfeld on Thursday nights. 60, 70% of the households would be glued without remote controls. I used to run home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to beat my sister because we had one television set, and I wanted to watch the greatest show of all time, Hogan's Heroes. But if she beat me by 30 seconds, I had to sit and watch Petticoat Junction. Right? 1985, 15 television stations. Today, what do we have is 500. We've launched 2,500 new radio stations in the last 3 years in North America. 3,800 magazines, mostly rip-offs of People magazine and pop culture. Add to that the internet, 1 billion websites. Today, as we speak, in this meeting, 175,000 new blogs will be launched on the web. Today, as we speak, 10,000 new hours of original content will be uploaded onto YouTube. There'll be more content put on YouTube in the next 4 months than what CBS, ABC, and NBC have created since their inception. It's a massive transformation. And with it, we're seeing a change in consumer behavior. And that's capitalism. Consumers are now going, I'm looking for 2 things. 1, value, and 2, values. Value, yes, in price, but for the first time in a long time, we're leaving from this world of overconsumption. I need a bigger TV set. I need another car, to underconsumption. And they're asking questions like, do I really need this? And believe me, your customers are asking the same thing. Do I really need this meeting? Right? The second thing they're going is they're leaving this world of mass and these big drift nets where we caught them in the magic of brands to their world. It's going from mass to my. And the internet's what's created it. Because the internet isn't some kind of isolated, weird thing anymore. It's one of the most powerful social networks in the world. If I happen to like Irish rugby, I no longer have to hope that maybe once a year the newspaper reports on it. I no longer have to find some obscure magazine. I can go home online. I don't need Hogan's Heroes or Petticoat Junction. I just go and I find like-minded people. On the internet, I can socialize, I can flirt, I can fall in love, I can research. 1 in 8 people that got married last year in North America met online. And that's going to go to 1 in 3 this decade, the next decade. Right?